The Cult. On Old Man's order, Ghost sped up the sidewalk toward the cult's first sentry outpost that was set up to the east. Attacking from the east might make them think it was a country group raiding them. It was about an hour before dawn. Ghost only went out when it was dark or cloudy. It was still bright enough to make him frown. It could still burn his skin. Old Man had a plan for the machinery. He'd sent them with about 60 shivers and some transportation equipment that they could push back together. Sentries in the cult were often equipped with fully automatic rifles, but the best equipment would probably be reserved for the west and south outposts. There were outposts surrounding the territory, sentries on those and surrounding each compound, and then the actual compound's forces and non-fighting members, like kids and weaker craftspeople. The cult had a lot of craftspeople. Old Man had created the strategy and gone over it with Ray, who was good at planning. He told each group what to do. Ghost, take out the point outpost. Buddy, Ray, and 10 snipers take up hidden positions. Ghost, check conditions from the lookout post and give the signal for the raiders to move in, or the signal for Ray to issue different orders if Ghost observed conditions that were too unexpected. He flexed his core to suppress the grinding nausea as he ran smoothly up the walk. Wind blew his hair back and cooled his forehead. He smiled. He ran over rubble without changing his height in relation to the street, by bending his legs at different levels. He felt like he was gliding. He focused past the terror that came from being right in view of those sentries, in case they happened to look. Even treading on glass with his cloth-wrapped feet, unshod thanks to Ray's friends, he made no noise. His breath went slow and light like when he slept. Finally he reached a bit of cover, shadows under a crushed car garage with the cars smashed between each level. Thankfully, with this kind of building, you weren't likely to stumble onto a dried corpse. They used to churn with worms in the year after it all happened, people said. Now they were spots of mold, moss, fertilizer. He let his breaths come deeper now. Oxygen-starved, his eyes stopped seeing and lips went numb, but he refused to pant loudly like he wanted to. If they heard him, he was dead. Finally, a breeze rustled in the leaves in the sidewalk, and he used those sounds to mask his gasps for air. Then he stuffed in his earplugs. Now the shakiest part of his job was done. Up to his skill now. He crept up the rubble. He heard them talking. There were 4 of them. The concrete brick wall had been broken in several locations to shoot through. He had to trust that he could leap over the wall faster than they could shoot. He did what he always did. Grinned with yellow fangs, and decided, yes, he could. It's not a lie if you make it true. He took a bound and sprung up to the wall, fingertips tapping the dusty ridge to control his momentum, legs clearing the wall on the leap. He kicked his feet wildly as he came down, knocking rifles, hands, and heads together in the tiny tower. There was no time to maneuver, just a couple of seconds to kick ass, kick balls. Ghost hammer-fisted the groin behind him, turned that into a punch for the balls on his left, right stomped down to the shin on his right, and front-kicked the last guy in the throat. The first 3 were in various levels of stooped, grabbing at firearms. The 4th was clutching at his throat, falling slowly, making a clattering noise instead of proper breathing. While the 3rd was a girl, and she was about to start screaming. The first 2 had their rifles in hand. Ghost grabbed the 4th by the shoulder and ducked behind him, spinning him in the other direction at the same time, as if to make a shield out of him. Ghost knew better than to assume this guy's body would protect him, though, and he didn't stop there. This guy's rifle was on his back, and Ghost swung the muzzle up with the same motion as the spin. It was clumsy, but he only had to crouch a bit behind the cultist to aim it at the others. Safety off, squeezed the trigger. It recoiled, hitting him in the chest, and swung wide. He thrust it against the choking one's thigh, squeezed again as good as he could, and sprayed the bullets into the screams. Bit his lips and held on for dear life. Time went so slow. He'd probably half-emptied the clip. He stopped because the guy wearing this gun had struggled forward. He had a flare in his hand somehow. Ghost leapt up, then stomped, crushing the man's hand with a calculated grind. I'm scared, someone said behind him. At that, he growled like a dog and snatched up one of the guns. The growl turned into a roar as he beat their heads until he knew they were dead enough not to get up again. They twitched. Still growling, he clenched his teeth and stared. Don't look. All he could do was stand there looking at the wall just above them with horror and hate in his eyes. He wanted to stop. The only way to stop was to drop the bloody gun in his hands that he'd killed them with. He threw it out of his hands. The barrel thudded against one guy's broken shin, and the toe twitched. Sometimes it felt really wrong, and this was one of those times. He unlooped the piece of rebar he kept hanging at his hip. He looked over the wall into the cult territory. The layout matched closely to what Connor had described. Ghost gave the signal to proceed. A black flag.